Tom Freyberg from Aquatech TV here in Shanghai, China, and I'm pleased to say I'm joined by Snehal Desai from DOW. Snehal, good to see you.
Good to see you.
So it's been probably a year and a half, I think, since we last had an interview in Amsterdam, and it's a very, very different part of the world and market compared to here in China. So I really want to know, as a membrane provider, what's your sort of strategy here with all the different projects going on?
Well, it's interesting. We've been in the market for almost 15, 20 years, and actually one of the first membrane companies to make their way into China. And as the country has changed its strategy around industrialization, where we saw a lot of power plants and chemical plants going in, a lot of ion exchange technology, membrane technology starting to emerge, then we saw the shift toward municipal infrastructure build out. And there we saw ultrafiltration and RO in combination being seen as an option for the municipalities. And now we know that there is a big push on reuse. And there it's the combination of technologies that turn out to be a solution, which is what we call minimum liquid discharge. So as the market has evolved, as the needs have changed, we've really played along with that. And we have quite a large presence in the country through R&D, manufacturing, and that allows us to have a pulse on the market that some others probably don't have. And I think the final thing we've seen, and this is just something that kind of sits outside of that typical industrialization curve, is the residential market, which has exploded over the last 10 years, and particularly the last 5. Each of these are themes that we see as just sort of the playbook that we're using for innovation.
So you're talking about point of use,
absolutely,
scaled down RO for kitchens and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so while the country is actually investing in infrastructure and municipal use, but the consumer is actually looking to take more control of the treatment and have confidence that the quality of the water that they put into their family, into the home, is actually meeting their standards. And so that's really been a drive that we've seen, not only here in China, but we see it in India, we see it in Vietnam, we see it across the Middle East. And so this general theme of decentralized treatment and taking control is actually a theme that we see as very resonant, but China is sort of the center of that activity right now. So again, a major theme for us here at the show.
That's spot on, because I attended a show in Taiwan, and the point of use market was enormous there, because as one of the manufacturers said to me, it's not the trust in the treatment plant, it's actually the network itself. So no matter how good quality the water you're producing, if it's still getting contaminated in the network itself, then consumers, it's really driving that market.
Absolutely. I mean, it's interesting because we know that the industry has been looking at, and the market has been looking at decentralized point of use for a long time. It's been pretty prevalent in the US, it's pretty mature in the US and Europe. But there's a level of confidence in the infrastructure that is not really the same as we are in the developing world. And so even while people might have a sense that the government's doing the right thing and investing in the right technologies, they do want that peace of mind. And that's really what we're talking about, is health and peace of mind.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you talked there about the combination of UF and RO membranes and shifting into the reuse market.
Yeah.
But I mean, and this is what we touched on last time, really the global desalination market for municipal projects is still nowhere near what it was when it sort of peaked 2007, right?
Yeah.
So what's your strategy? Because we're seeing pockets of activity in Oman, Saudi, the UAE a little bit, but is this something you're still concentrating your efforts on, or do you think you're trying to move more into the industrial markets?
Well, I mean, just to be clear, we have been predominantly in the industrial market as a business over time, mostly through the legacy of our ion exchange business. And then even over the years, while we've been a major player in the municipal build out and the seawater desalination market, our core business is industrial.
Sure.
So we have selectively chosen to participate in various desal projects around the world, and some of the most prevalent ones, and notorious sometimes, but definitely some of the biggest ones like Carlsbad, that has DOW membrane in it. Some of the new projects going on in the Middle East like Barca, DOW membrane in it, and some of the expansions and replacements going on in Australia. Again, projects that we are actually tracking very closely. But we learned a long time ago to live and die through the desal market is a recipe for really sleepless nights. So we really found a way to diversify our application base and diversify globally as well.
And fairly recently there was the, I guess, partnership into Oxymem.
Yeah.
It's an Irish, fairly new company.
Absolutely.
Tell me a bit about that and the kind of the reasoning behind DOW getting involved.
So we're a big believer in open innovation, and so for the last 6-7 years we've been keeping our eye on a number of promising technologies in the market. And in one case we say that being in the wastewater market is more than just simply being UFRO. And it's allowing us to maybe get ourselves much more, at least aware of, and then potentially active in the upstream processes inside the wastewater area. But we just see that as a dynamic area of change where our core competencies around membranes and material science can play a role. So we're excited to be partnering with them. They're making great progress. And we're actually seeing that the activities around energy efficiency in the wastewater plant is a big theme, and we want to play in that.
Really, I mean, energy usage within wastewater treatment and aeration is almost the elephant in the room, right? There's
Absolutely.
a lot of room for improvement.
Yeah, and I think those guys have really kind of zoned in on where the pain point is in that market. But we also know that when you start thinking about solutions inside the wastewater space, you might start with aeration, you'll go to some other processes, ultimately you find yourself back into the UFRO space, so it's really kind of mapping the solution in between.
Fantastic. Well, Snehal, thanks very much for your time. Always interesting to catch up with you.
Always good to see you.
As you can hear, it's a busy event here in China.
Absolutely.
So good luck for the future. Thank you.
All right, thank
Cheers.
you. All right.